Русский? Советский.
Hello everyone, this is Sergei Sputnikoff. Welcome to another episode of Ushanka Show Slides. And today we are going shopping at GUM, Государственный универсальный магазин, State Department Store located on the Red Square in Moscow. What's unique about this presentation, we will look at the pictures taken by my distant American relative Uncle Bill back in 1973, and later I will show you some slides taken by one of my subscribers, Sean, who visited Soviet Union in 1989. And we're going to compare 1973 to 1989, and I'll be commenting along this presentation. Before we begin, just a quick reminder, all Uncle Bill's slides presentation located in a separate playlist called World Travels with Uncle Bill, and link will be below in the comment section. It looks like Uncle Bill visited Soviet Union at least twice in 1973 and 1982, and I need to be careful scanning his slides because for his own presentation, and I was told that he traveled around and he showed his slides in retirement homes, I guess making some extra money. So in his Moscow box, there's a mixture of older slides and newer slides, and the only difference is the shape of the actual slide frame. Older Kodak slides tend to have sharp corners and newer kind of rounded corners, so it makes scanning his slides a little bit complicated. So during his 1973 visit, he, besides visiting all the other interesting places in Moscow, he visited GUM, Государственный универсальный магазин, State Department Store, located right in the center of Moscow on the Red Square. A couple of words about the history of GUM. So originally this building was called Верхние ряды, upper rows, so that's like when the sellers are in the rows selling their goods. It was finished in 1893 and it's located right on the Red Square. In 1911, Верхние ряды became a publicly traded company, and here you see a stock certificate worth 1,000 rubles. And Верхние ряды were renamed into GUM, State Department Store, in 1921, apparently by the request of Comrade Vladimir Lenin. And speaking of location, here's the aerial view of downtown Moscow, Kremlin on the right, GUM on the left, and in the middle is Red Square and the Lenin's Mausoleum. Can't get any more premium location than that, right? And for its time, I want to remind you again, it was opened in 1893. This shopping mall was quite modern. It had his own electrical power plant to provide lights, had natural gas, has plumbing, and it consisted of 16 separate buildings, and streets between the buildings had glass roofs. So it's pretty neat. And I think it's truly a miracle that this building survived through the Soviet era. In fact, Comrade Stalin was considering demolishing GUM twice. First time in mid-1930s, where they're thinking to replace it with the Ministry of Heavy Industry. At that time was called Commissariat, not Ministerstvo. So there were already plans drawn, but then last moment they canceled the project. And before we begin with our slideshow, I need to mention that the GUM is still in business, but now it's the collection of luxury boutique stores. And now, finally, let's go GUM shopping. Okay, so we'll start with this photo. Once again, it's summer of 1973, a general view of the GUM store. You see a lot of people kind of lingering in the front of the store. I believe those are Soviet tourists staying in groups, waiting their turn to go across the street, across the Red Square, where the mausoleum was the body of Vladimir Lenin. So in order not to have a giant crowd in the front of the mausoleum, looks like people being gathered on the opposite side, and they're waiting for their turn. Also, if you look at the building itself, there's a lot of ugly attachments. So those are, looks like projectors and speakers. So once again, this is the Red Square with all the parades, November 7th parade, May 1st parade, May 9th parade. So all the important events. So you want to have speakers and you want to have light. Another interesting detail I noticed is the car sitting in the entry of the GUM store. So this is actually a local police, militia car. Whatever the purpose of it, I don't know, but it's parked right in the front of the main entrance to the store. This car is Volga GAZ24, and this is the close-shot, similar color combination, except in 1973 they did not have the white license plates. They were still black license plates with white letter. You may notice a couple of large white umbrellas, and it looks like there's a person in the front of it sitting on a stool. Most likely those are photographers waiting for tourists to want to have a photo taken in front of mausoleum or GUM, or maybe that's once again people selling lottery tickets. Not private enterprise, once again, everyone worked for the government, but that's two reasons I can explain those umbrellas. Okay, another picture of GUM main entrance. This photo Uncle Bill took in 1982. Looks like the thunderstorm just rolled over the Moscow. And once again, there's a people standing by the entrance of GUM, but they look across the red square towards the mausoleum. I'm not sure why. And we got a new addition. There's a flag poles installed. They were not there in 1973. And if you zoom up on the photo, you will notice that once again there is a police car sitting in the front of GUM. So something never changes. And I also wonder who is that tall guy. It looks like it's a guy, bearded, long-haired guy. Maybe he's a photographer, maybe he's a foreign tourist, but he kind of doesn't look Soviet. And here's that Gaz-24 Volga car, same car, different color. So sometime between 1973 and 1982, they changed the color scheme from gray to yellow. And here's the view inside of the GUM. Once again, those are streets that between the buildings, and they covered with the glass roofs, so rain won't affect the customers. I believe the ladies that wear headscarves probably from out of town. And then it looks like we have a Navy officer in black uniform and white hat. And if we zoom up, we'll see that this place sells cosmetics. They have a lipstick, lotions. There's a Florina brand, looks like lotions, and those came from East Germany. And there's two abacuses. So instead of calculators in 1973, they still use this mechanical device to add and subtract money. That's how we used to count the money. And here's the next slide. Mostly female customers line up to purchase предметы отделки женской и детской одежды. And what's kind of 1970s, most women are wearing skirts. Hardly anyone is wearing pants. And look at that fancy trash can. And I know some of you are complaining about me using AI, but check this out. I just asked Google to replace Russian with English, keeping the picture. And here we go. Trimmings for women's and children's clothing, fringe and lace. Next slide looks like people buying stuff for knitting. And what's interesting, you could see 3 salespeople in that small area. So in Soviet Union, there was job for everyone and 100% employment. I like this shot a lot. So you see customers and you see general kind of setup of the GUM store. So you see there's an open in the middle, so that's that street. Then you have bridges that people can cross on the second floor from one side to another. And you kind of see the glass roof. Okay, so let's take a look at people. Once again, Uncle Bill, man, his street photography, like, it's outstanding. I don't think I would have balls like that just to stay and just take pictures of people, because most Soviet people were not happy about photos of them being taken. So you see there's a lady on the right wearing pants, looking back, checking out Uncle Bill. And there's several people in the front. They definitely came from Central Asia. So it looks like maybe a father and his wife and a daughter to his left. And the lady wearing this interesting, now they call them yoga pants, but this is kind of interesting combination. She wearing a dress and kind of yoga pants. That was a thing from South. Another great photo by Uncle Bill here just kind of shows the general setup. You know, you have a small stores pretty much. That's how it was designed in 1893. But look how worn out everything. And this is the central store of the Soviet Union, the largest country in the world. Door jamb is all worn out, beat up. It probably wasn't replaced since 1893. And look also down by the ground, that green paint all chipped away in every corner. So not exactly impressive. And then you have speaker. And if you are wondering what the sign says, here you go. School aprons are sold at the kiosk on the opposite side. So they call this each small store a kiosk. And this picture was taken sometime in the late August, because that's all about shopping for the new school year, which is September 1st. And here's the photo taken across the opening, and it says школьные фартуки, school aprons, and a bunch of people in the line trying to buy one. If you generally look at the people, there's only one female that looks like she's dressed pretty sharp. There's the girl in white next to that square column. Another great shot. Here we get time reference. So the banner says September 1st, школьная форма, school uniform. So this picture was taken sometime in mid-August, hot summer day, and people are shopping for uniforms, and also they drink soda, газированная, out of those dispenser machines. And if you're wondering about Soviet-era school aprons, школьные фартухи, this is a part of the school uniform. Girls wore them during so-called парадные дни. So when there's a May 1st, November 7th, May 9th, and teacher tell you, hey, tomorrow you need to wear parade form, парадная форма. That means the guys should wear white shirts and a tie, and the girls should wear white school apron. Let's zoom it up a little bit. This is a really interesting picture because the guy in black, that dude looks like a Hollywood movie star. Nice sharp black suit, hair done. It's like, wow. Then you see the guy drinking soda out of the shared community glass. I have a video on this topic already. The link will be below in the comment section. On the left, there's a gray box that says размен, exchange. So there people could get small coins. You use 1 kopeck or 3 kopecks coins in order to get this drink. 1 kopeck is just soda. For 3 kopecks, you get flavored soda. Usually it's like orange flavor or lemon flavor. And here's the example of those soda dispenser machines. I remember the one on the far right, just a boring gray box, but in 1970s they used fancier ones. They look kind of cool. Looks like this photo was taken from one bridge, kind of showing the length of the street. You could see ceiling roof. The sign says игрушки, toys, third line, second floor, and a lot of shop. Okay, and this kiosk sells мужские меховые головные уборы, men's fur hats, kind of weird item to sell in the summer. And once again, you won't ever notice any sign says like sale, распродажа, everything sold at the same price summer or winter. And below there's another sign on the first floor kiosk, says электротовары, so it's electrical goods. You know, irons, electrical teapots, vacuum cleaners, stuff like that. Okay, so I thought the GUM was 2-story high, but apparently it's 3-story high because there's another bridge above the second floor, and there's a lady walking there. I'm not sure what is this little building, like little kiosk with the golden color pillars and reflective glass. I don't think it's a bathroom. It has some kind of ventilation ducts on the top. So I don't know what is that thing, but there's another view of GUM. And here's the interesting looking mannequin. Really interesting looking. I don't know what to say about it, but it looks like this kiosk sells fabric. Below says цена за 1 метр 90 копеек. So price for 1 meter of fabric is 90 kopecks. There's something else is 5 rubles 50 kopecks. That's a lot of money, but I'm not sure is it the entire dress or what else can be there for 550. And there's some other prices, but mannequin is what caught my attention on this pic. And here Uncle Bill took a close shot at the items and prices, and I'm telling you, in 1973, the average monthly salary in the Soviet Union was 130 rubles. So the little item on the right, I don't remember how you call it in English, 55 rubles. More than a third of your salary. The one on the left is 42 rubles. So a third of your monthly salary just for one little piece of clothing. And then it looks like there's a Soviet cheetah pattern scarf, 12 rubles. Price is just insane. I mean, you can easily times it 10. Picture you're making $1,500 a month, and you need to pay $550 for this cardigan. I think it's the word cardigan. I'm not sure what is this item. It's too fancy for the nightgown, but once again, 37 rubles, $370 if you're making $1,500 a month. Google told me these porcelain dishes were made in Ukraine. There were 2 big factories producing a lot of this hand-painted porcelain. So once again, imagine you're making $1,500 a month, and they're asking $98 for a little saucer. And honestly, I'm not sure if this is the price for a set of 6 plates, 5 rubles 10 cents, $51 or each. Most likely for the set of 6, so that's like 85 kopecks or $8.50 per plate. And when I posted these pictures with items and prices from Uncle Bill from 1973, mentioning that salary in Soviet Union that time per month was 130 rubles, there was a lot of angry comments. People told me that Soviet prices needs to be recalculated for the pretty extensive formula that you need to consider free healthcare, free housing, free education, and only after that, considering all those free services, you can look at the prices. But still, paying $98 for a little painted porcelain saucer adds a lot of money. A couple of vertical shots of GUM streets. Looks like Uncle Bill was just standing on one of the bridges and playing with his zoom camera. There is one customer attracting my attention. There's the guy wearing so-called tubiteka, so most likely he's a tourist from Uzbekistan. And here's the last photo of the picture that Uncle Bill took in August of 1973 at the GUM department store. Once again, we have that mysterious tower that has a ventilation unit on the top. And you could kind of see again the glass ceiling. And check this out. This is the modern day GUM, a picture taken from the 3rd floor. You still can see that ventilation unit. So it's still there doing whatever it's supposed to do. And to the right on the 2nd level, there's a Levi's store. I'm not sure if it's still there. Maybe this picture was taken before Russia attacked Ukraine and got into sanctions. But this is the view of the modern day GUM. And now let's jump from 1973 into 1989 and see how the GUM store looked 16 years later. These photos were kindly provided by one of my subscribers, Sean, who in 1989 traveled across the Soviet Union on a Trans-Siberian train, visited Moscow, Irkutsk, Khabarovsk, and other cool places. Okay, so that's his first picture, summer of 1989. That kiosk in the distance sells yupki, so those skirts and blouses. Slightly different design, and it's brighter posters posted right in the window. You could see slight changes in this photo, like the signage. It changed direction, now it's sticking out into the street. You could see across the street said photo bumaga, so it's a photo paper, souvenirs. I haven't seen a single souvenir store in the 1973 set. The closest sign says radioli, so it's a stereos. And I find it interesting, it looks like there is no one on the 3rd floor. There's no people there. A line of people in front of the soda dispenser machine. Look how the lady is drinking. She's trying not to touch the glass with her lips. Once again, it's a communal glasses, barely washed. But otherwise, it's still a popular way of take care of your thirst in a summer day, is just to go to communal soda machine and share your germs with the entire neighborhood. And here we see a Soviet soldier standing in front of a magnetophone booth. Magnetophone means cassette, compact cassette players. And he is probably during his military leave and dressed in parade uniform. Just a group photo of Soviet customers. And I cannot tell much difference in the way Soviet people dressed in 1973 versus 1989. In Moscow, the capital of Soviet Union, I would expect a little bit more fancier clothing, more Western maybe. And another photo in the front of the magnetophone store. What I find interesting, people walk out without carrying any stereos. So what that means, there's none there available for sale, or are they just looking, not planning to buy? Here it looks like there's a line of people on the left and people kind of walking past the line on the right. What I find kind of interesting, so there's a lady in a white t-shirt. So apparently it's a hot summer day, but her kid to her left, our right, is wearing a sweater. Another group of Soviet customers, but this character in a black long sleeve shirt that is unbuttoned all the way to his belly button, and he looks like trying to look like a Soviet Casanova. Another shot of Soviet people drinking soda. And I noticed how American tourists were always fascinated with the whole system of this public soda dispensers and shared glasses. But here, for the very first time, I see jeans, although they look kind of dirty. And it's really interesting about the bag that the guy has over his shoulder. The bag says Trans Rutas, and apparently it's a Spanish traveling agency, and it looks like they're still in business. So that was kind of interesting to find that out. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this slight presentation of Let's Go Shopping to the GUM. And I want to thank again my subscriber Sean for letting me use his pictures from 1989 Moscow. And of course, thank you, Uncle Bill. You did a great job taking pictures all over the world, including Soviet Union. Alright, so it's all I have for you today. Please don't forget to like this video if you did. Post a comment, maybe share with your friends, and I'll talk to you soon. До побачення. Goodbye.
Enjoying the content? Support the author by picking up a copy of their book.